Tonight, we explore contracts that became cautionary tales, massive deals that promised championships but delivered disappointment, quiet collapses hidden behind guaranteed money. These are stories of hope, miscalculation, and the heavy cost of expectations. Close your eyes. Let's begin. In the summer of 2008, the Washington Wizards stood at a crossroads. They had a young, explosive guard who had taken the league by storm. Gilbert Arenas, known throughout the basketball world as Agent Zero, had become one of the most electrifying scorers in the National Basketball Association. His clutch shooting, fearless demeanor, and ability to take over games in the fourth quarter made him a fan favorite and a franchise cornerstone. The Wizards believed they had found their star for the next decade. Gilbert's journey to this moment had been unconventional. Selected in the second round of the 2001 draft, he was the 46th overall pick, a player most teams overlooked. But Gilbert possessed something special, a chip on his shoulder, a burning desire to prove every doubting scout wrong. After 2 seasons with the Golden State Warriors, he signed with Washington in 2003 and immediately transformed the franchise's fortunes. During his first 3 seasons in Washington, Gilbert averaged over 25 points per game. He made the All-Star team 3 consecutive years, from 2005 through 2007. He developed a reputation for impossible shots, deep three-pointers, and a swagger that captivated audiences. Fans remember his Zero on the Jersey campaign, his blog posts that gave unprecedented access to a player's thoughts, and his genuine joy for the game. The Wizards had not just a scorer, but a personality, someone who could carry a franchise both on and off the court. In 2006 and 2007, Gilbert led Washington to back-to-back playoff appearances. Though they never advanced past the first round, the trajectory seemed promising. The team was building something. Young talent surrounded him. The future looked bright under the arena lights of the Verizon Center. Management believed they had found their answer, their franchise player who could compete with the best in the Eastern Conference. Then came the contract. 6 years, $111 million. It was a massive commitment, one of the largest in franchise history. The Wizards were betting everything on Gilbert's continued excellence, his health, and his ability to mature into a championship-caliber leader. For a moment, it seemed like a reasonable gamble. He was just 26 years old, entering what should have been his prime years. What could possibly go wrong? But professional basketball is unforgiving. The body endures tremendous stress. Knees absorb countless pounds of pressure with every jump, every cut, every explosive drive to the basket. Gilbert's knees had been bothering him for some time, a quiet concern that lingered beneath the highlight reels and scoring outbursts. In the 2007 to 2008 season, those concerns became reality. He played just 13 games before season-ending knee surgery shut him down. The injury was serious. Microfracture surgery, a procedure that requires extensive rehabilitation and offers no guarantees of full recovery. Many players never return to their previous level after such an operation. Gilbert faced a long, uncertain road back. The Wizards, now committed to paying him nearly $20 million per season, could only wait and hope. He returned for the 2008 to 2009 season, playing 62 games and showing flashes of his former brilliance. He averaged nearly 20 points per game, and some observers believed he might recapture his peak form. But then came December of 2009, and an incident that would forever alter his career trajectory and the franchise's future. In the locker room before a game, Gilbert was involved in a situation involving firearms that violated league policy. The details were troubling, the fallout immediate. The NBA suspended him indefinitely, later settling on a 50-game suspension. His reputation suffered immensely. The Wizards, already struggling with his injury concerns, now faced questions about his judgment and maturity. The contract that once seemed like a franchise-defining move had become a burden. Gilbert played just 32 games for Washington over the next 2 seasons. The explosiveness was gone. The confidence seemed shaken. His scoring average dropped below 14 points per game. The knees continued to betray him. The player who once scored 60 points in a game now struggled to stay on the court. Fans watched sadly as a brilliant career quietly unraveled, one disappointing game at a time. In December of 2010, the Wizards suspended him again, this time for the remainder of the season, using a clause related to his earlier incident. The relationship had deteriorated beyond repair. When the new collective bargaining agreement in 2011 introduced the amnesty provision, allowing teams to remove one contract from their salary cap calculations, Washington used it on Gilbert. After just 3 injury-plagued, controversy-marred seasons of his 6-year deal, he was gone. Gilbert signed with Orlando, then Memphis, playing sparingly for both teams before retiring in 2012. He played just 17 total games for those franchises. The career that had burned so brightly faded into quiet disappointment. Some fans believe he could have been one of the greatest scorers of his generation had circumstances been different. Many observers say the injuries would have caught up to him regardless. According to reports, Gilbert himself has expressed regret about some decisions, while maintaining pride in his accomplishments. For the Wizards, the contract represented years of lost opportunity. The money paid to an unavailable or suspended player could have been used to build around John Wall, their next young star. The franchise wandered through mediocrity, hamstrung by a deal that seemed brilliant when signed, but became a cautionary tale about injury risk, character evaluation, and the unpredictability of professional sports. The legacy of Gilbert's contract extends beyond Washington. It influenced how teams structured deals with injury-prone players. It reminded general managers that talent alone cannot guarantee success. It showed that even the most exciting, promising young stars can fall apart when knees fail and judgment falters. In the quiet hours of front offices across the league, executives remember Agent Zero's contract when they consider similar risks. The summer of 2016 brought unusual circumstances to the National Basketball Association. A new collective bargaining agreement had increased the salary cap dramatically, from $70 million to $94 million overnight. Teams suddenly possessed unprecedented cap space. General managers scrambled to spend their newfound wealth. Some made shrewd investments. Others, desperate to use the available money, made decisions they would quickly regret. The Memphis Grizzlies had reached a crossroads with their longtime core. Marc Gasol and Mike Conley had led the team to years of playoff appearances, building a reputation for defensive toughness and grit and grind basketball. But they lacked offensive firepower, particularly from the perimeter. The team desperately needed a player who could space the floor, knock down three-pointers, and provide scoring punch alongside their established stars. They believed they found their answer in Chandler Parsons. Chandler's background made him an appealing target. Drafted by the Houston Rockets in the second round of the 2011 draft, he had developed into a reliable wing player, someone who could shoot efficiently, handle the ball, and contribute across multiple statistical categories. He was not a superstar, but he was a quality starter, the kind of complementary piece that championship teams need.
During his time with Houston and then Dallas, he shot over 37% from three-point range and averaged between 13 and 16 points per game.
At 25 years old, Chandler seemed poised to enter his prime. He possessed good size at 6 feet 9 inches, basketball intelligence, and the skill set Memphis needed. The Grizzlies, flush with cap space and determined to maximize their championship window with Gasol and Conley, made their move. 4 years, $94 million. It was a massive commitment, the kind of contract typically reserved for all-star level players. But in the inflated market of 2016, teams convinced themselves such deals made sense. The early hope was palpable. Memphis fans imagined Chandler stretching defenses, creating space for Gasol in the post, finding open shots off Conley's penetration. The local media praised the signing. Some national analysts questioned the price, but acknowledged the fit. For a brief moment, it seemed the Grizzlies had solved their offensive limitations and positioned themselves as legitimate contenders in the Western Conference. Then, Chandler's knees betrayed him. Chronic problems that had existed during his Dallas tenure worsened immediately. He played just 34 games in his first season with Memphis, missing extended stretches with soreness, inflammation, and eventually surgery. When he did play, he looked tentative, uncomfortable, unable to move with the fluidity that had made him effective in previous years. His scoring average dropped below 6 points per game. His three-point percentage plummeted to below 30%. The disappointment was profound, but quiet. There were no dramatic locker room incidents, no public feuds, just a steady accumulation of missed games, medical evaluations, and dwindling hope. Chandler worked tirelessly on rehabilitation. By all accounts, he desperately wanted to contribute, to justify the faith Memphis had shown him, but the body refused to cooperate. The knees that had carried him through 8 NBA seasons could no longer withstand the demands of professional basketball. In the 2017 to 2018 season, Chandler played just 36 games. Another knee surgery, more rehabilitation, more disappointment for a franchise that had invested nearly $100 million in his services. The defining low moment came when Memphis essentially removed him from the rotation entirely, acknowledging that he could not help them win games. He became a spectator in street clothes, watching from the bench as the team struggled without the offensive boost they had expected him to provide. The emotional meaning extended beyond basketball operations. Chandler represented a bet the Grizzlies made on their championship window, a window that was rapidly closing. Gasol and Conley were aging. The Core 4 era was ending. The money committed to an unavailable player prevented Memphis from pursuing other options, from building around their stars in more productive ways. Fans watched their team's competitive window slam shut, partially because of one disastrous contract. Over 4 years, Chandler played just 95 total games for Memphis, 95 games from a $94 million investment. The mathematics are staggering, roughly $1 million per game played. When he did appear, he averaged 4.6 points in limited minutes. The three-point shooting that had made him valuable disappeared entirely. The athleticism that had defined his game was gone. What remained was a player physically unable to perform at NBA level, collecting guaranteed money while the franchise absorbed the consequences. In the final 2 seasons of his contract, Chandler played just 5 combined games, 5 games across 2 full seasons. Memphis continued paying him over $20 million per year to rehabilitate, to attempt comebacks that never materialized, to sit in street clothes while younger players fought for minutes. The franchise released him in the summer of 2020, using the amnesty-like stretch provision,
which allowed them to spread his remaining salary over multiple years for cap purposes. Some fans believe the Grizzlies had no choice, that the inflated market forced them into such deals. Many observers say better medical evaluation could have revealed the knee problems before signing. According to reports, Memphis conducted extensive physical examinations, but knees are unpredictable, and cartilage damage can worsen rapidly once a certain threshold is crossed. Chandler himself has spoken about the frustration of knowing his body failed him, of wanting desperately to contribute, but being physically incapable.
The legacy of Chandler's contract with Memphis stands as one of basketball's most lopsided investments. Not because of poor performance or lack of effort, but because of the cruel reality of athletic decline and injury. It influenced how teams evaluate players with existing knee concerns. It reminded everyone that past health is no guarantee of future availability. It showed that in the rush to spend cap space, franchises can commit to deals they will regret for years. In 2020, Chandler was involved in a serious car accident that effectively ended any remaining hope of an NBA return. His career concluded with 198 career games missed due to injury across multiple teams. The promising wing, who seemed destined for a long, productive career, instead became a cautionary tale about fragility, about how quickly bodies can break down, about the risk of committing massive guaranteed money to players whose health hangs by a thread. Madison Square Garden has witnessed countless memorable moments in basketball history. Championships, legendary performances, players who became icons in the world's most famous arena. In the late 1990s, Allan Houston emerged as one of those special players, a smooth shooting guard whose silky jump shot and clutch gene made him beloved by Knicks fans and respected throughout the league. His performances helped guide New York to the NBA Finals in 1999. He seemed destined for a long, successful career in the bright lights of Manhattan. Allan's background made him perfect for the New York market. The son of a former NBA player, he possessed fundamental soundness, professional maturity, and a work ethic that impressed coaches and teammates. Drafted by the Detroit Pistons in 1993, he developed into a quality scorer before the Knicks acquired him in 1996. In New York, he blossomed. His scoring average climbed above 20 points per game. He made 2 All-Star teams. He delivered in crucial moments, including a memorable series-winning shot against Miami in the 1999 playoffs. By 2001, Allan was 30 years old and coming off several strong seasons. He had proven himself as a primary scoring option, someone capable of carrying the offensive load for a playoff team. The Knicks, determined to remain competitive in the Eastern Conference, made a historic commitment. 6 years, $100 million. It was the first contract in NBA history to exceed the $100 million threshold, a landmark deal that reflected both Allan's value and the escalating economics of professional basketball. For a moment, the investment seemed justified. Allan had delivered for years. He showed no signs of decline. His shooting remained deadly. His professionalism never wavered. The Knicks believed they had secured their offensive centerpiece through his mid-30s, allowing them to build around a proven star rather than gambling on younger, unproven talent. Madison Square Garden celebrated the deal. Fans anticipated more playoff runs, more memorable moments, more reasons to pack the arena and cheer. But the human body does not care about contracts or expectations. Allan's knees, which had absorbed thousands of jumps and millions of pounds of force over a decade-long career, began showing signs of serious trouble. Chronic inflammation developed. Cartilage wore down. The pain increased.
During the 2002 to 2003 season, he played 77 games but showed diminishing explosion. The effortless elevation on his jump shot became more difficult. The lateral movement that allowed him to create space deteriorated. By 2003 to 2004, the situation had become dire. Allan appeared in just 20 games before shutting down completely. Season-ending knee surgery was required, a procedure that raised serious questions about his future. The Knicks, now committed to paying him roughly $15 million per season, faced an uncomfortable reality. Their highest-paid player, their franchise cornerstone, might never return to previous form. The following season brought worse news. Allan did not play a single game. The entire 2004 to 2005 season passed with him in rehabilitation, working desperately to return, but making no progress. The pain persisted. The knees refused to heal properly. By spring of 2005, the inevitable conclusion arrived. Allan announced his retirement, walking away from basketball at 34 years old with 2 full years and approximately $30 million remaining on his contract. The Knicks were now in an impossible position. They owed $15 million per year to a retired player. Under NBA salary cap rules, that money counted against their cap, preventing them from signing free agents or making trades to improve the roster. The franchise that had committed $100 million to secure Allan's services instead found themselves shackled by dead money, unable to rebuild, stuck in mediocrity while paying for past mistakes. The emotional and financial impact rippled through the franchise for years. New York struggled to compete, missing the playoffs repeatedly while elite talent signed elsewhere. Fans grew frustrated watching their team hamstrung by an immovable contract. The front office could not maneuver. Every decision was constrained by the money committed to Allan's retired knees. What had seemed like a franchise-defining move to secure a star became an anchor dragging the organization underwater. The situation became so problematic that it influenced league-wide labor negotiations. When the NBA and Players Union discussed the next collective bargaining agreement, Allan's contract served as a prominent example of how guaranteed money could cripple franchises. Eventually, the league introduced what became informally known as the Allan Houston rule, later formalized as the amnesty provision. This rule allowed teams to remove one contract from salary cap calculations, though they still had to pay the player. The Knicks immediately used this provision on Allan's remaining contract, finally freeing themselves from the cap burden. But the damage was done. Years of competitive opportunity had been wasted. Draft picks had been squandered trying to build around an unavailable player. Free agents had signed elsewhere because New York lacked cap space. The franchise's mid-2000s struggles can be traced directly to the decision to commit $100 million to a 30-year-old guard with developing knee problems. Some fans believe the Knicks had no way to predict the injury severity, that Allan had been durable throughout his career until suddenly he was not. Many observers say better medical evaluation or shorter contract terms could have mitigated the risk. According to reports, Allan himself felt terrible about the situation, understanding that his body had failed both him and the organization that had invested so heavily in his future. The legacy of Allan's contract extends far beyond his individual circumstances. It fundamentally changed how the NBA approached guaranteed money and salary cap management. Rules were rewritten. Teams became more cautious with long-term deals for players in their 30s. Medical evaluations became more thorough.
The collective bargaining agreement was modified to give franchises some protection against similar situations. Allan Houston remained a respected figure in New York basketball, despite the contract's outcome. Fans recognized that injuries were not his fault, that he had given the franchise years of excellent service before his body betrayed him. He transitioned into front office work, serving in various capacities for the Knicks organization. His professionalism and character were never questioned, but the contract he signed in 2001 will forever be remembered as one of basketball's most expensive mistakes, a cautionary tale about the intersection of aging bodies, guaranteed money, and the unforgiving nature of professional sports. The money spent, the opportunities lost, the years wasted, all because two knees could not hold up under the demands placed upon them. In the quiet archives of Madison Square Garden, Allan's contract serves as a permanent reminder that even the most careful plans can collapse under the weight of human fragility. The summer of 2016 arrived with unprecedented financial chaos in the National Basketball Association. The new television deal had injected billions into the league, causing the salary cap to explode from $70 million to $94 million in a single year. Teams across the league suddenly possessed vast cap space. General managers, caught between fear of wasting opportunity and the pressure to improve their rosters, made decisions that would haunt them for years. No franchise embodied this panic spending more dramatically than the Los Angeles Lakers. Los Angeles stood at a crossroads. The Kobe Bryant era had just ended with his retirement in April 2016. The franchise possessed young talent in D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, and Jordan Clarkson, players who represented the future but were not yet ready to compete for championships. The Lakers needed veteran leadership, players who could guide the young core while maintaining competitiveness in a brutal Western Conference. At least that was the stated logic behind what happened next. On the first day of free agency, the Lakers made two signings that immediately drew skepticism. Timofey Mozdov, a 7-foot center from Russia, received 4 years and $64 million. Luol Deng, a veteran forward with an impressive resume, received 4 years and $72 million. Combined, the Lakers had committed $136 million to two players who were not stars, were entering their 30s, and did not obviously fit with the team's young core.
Timofey's background offered some explanation for the Lakers' interest. He had been part of Cleveland's run to the NBA Finals in 2015, starting alongside LeBron James and providing rim protection. He was a competent role player, someone who could set screens, finish around the basket, and defend opposing big men. But $16 million per year? For a player who had averaged just 6 points and 4 rebounds the previous season? The basketball world struggled to understand the valuation. Luol's situation was similarly puzzling. He had been an excellent player for years, making multiple All-Star teams with Chicago and serving as a defensive anchor. But he was 31 years old. His athleticism had clearly diminished. His scoring had declined. While he remained a solid veteran presence, $18 million per year seemed drastically inflated for his current abilities. The market had clearly distorted usual valuation standards. The shortfall became apparent almost immediately. Timofey played just 54 games in his only season with the Lakers, averaging 7 points and 5 rebounds, while looking slow and overwhelmed by the pace of modern basketball. The game had evolved past his skill set. Centers who could not stretch the floor or switch on defense had become liabilities. Every minute he played highlighted the misfit between his abilities and the team's needs. Luol played 56 games, averaging 7 points while shooting just 30% from three-point range. The wing, who had once been a defensive stopper,
could no longer keep up with younger, quicker opponents. His offensive game had eroded to the point where he provided little value. Lakers coach Luke Walton increasingly buried him on the bench, recognizing that playing him hurt the team's chances of winning. $18 million per year to sit in a suit and watch from the sidelines?
The collapse of these contracts' value happened faster than anyone predicted. By the following summer, the Lakers had hired Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka to run basketball operations. The new regime took one look at the contracts inherited from previous management and understood they had a crisis. Timofey and Luol represented nearly $40 million in cap space, money that could not be used to sign better players or create flexibility. The franchise was trapped. In June 2017, barely a year after signing Timofey, the Lakers traded him to Brooklyn along with D'Angelo Russell, their young point guard and former number 2 overall pick. The trade's primary purpose was salary dumping, moving Timofey's contract off the books by attaching a valuable asset. Brooklyn accepted the deal because they received Russell, a promising young player. The Lakers accepted it because they desperately needed cap relief. It was a spectacular miscalculation requiring a steep price to correct. Luol's situation proved even more problematic. No team wanted his contract, even with draft picks attached. The Lakers eventually decided to simply stop playing him entirely. During the 2017 to 2018 season, he appeared in just one game, sitting on the bench in street clothes while younger players developed. The franchise was paying $18 million for a healthy player they chose not to use, an extraordinary waste of resources.
In September 2018, the Lakers used the stretch provision on Luol, releasing him and spreading his remaining salary over multiple years for cap purposes. They would pay him $5 million annually through 2022, even though he was not on the roster. He played briefly for Minnesota before retiring. The Lakers continued making payments to him for years after his career ended, a lingering reminder of 2016's mistakes. The emotional context extends beyond wasted money. These contracts delayed the Lakers' rebuild. They prevented Los Angeles from offering max contract space to potential free agents in 2017. They forced the team to trade young assets just to create flexibility. While the Lakers eventually signed LeBron James in 2018 and won a championship in 2020, they did so despite these contracts, not because of them. The road back to contention required overcoming self-inflicted obstacles. Some fans believe the Lakers panicked under pressure to spend, that the sudden cap spike created an irrational market where teams felt obligated to use available space rather than waiting for better opportunities. Many observers say the signings were obviously problematic even at the time, that comparable players were signing for half the money, that basic valuation principles were abandoned in the frenzy. According to reports, the previous front office believed they needed veteran presence and was determined to spend aggressively, despite questions about fit. The legacy of these contracts serves as perhaps the clearest example of the 2016 market's irrationality. Multiple teams made similar mistakes that summer, committing vast sums to mediocre players simply because cap space existed. But the Lakers, operating in the league's most visible market, faced greater scrutiny. Every game Timofey lumbered up and down the court, every night Luol sat in street clothes, reminded the basketball world that even prestigious franchises can make terrible decisions when circumstances overwhelm judgment. The $136 million spent on these two players bought the Lakers almost nothing. Timofey played one forgettable season. Luol played sparingly across 2 seasons before being released. Neither contributed to winning basketball, neither mentored young players effectively, neither justified even a fraction of their compensation. The contract simply existed, draining resources and preventing better decisions
until the franchise could finally escape their weight. Other teams from that summer eventually recovered. The Trail Blazers moved on from their questionable deals, the Knicks survived their spending spree, but few situations were as dramatically counterproductive as Los Angeles committing max-level money to two role players who could not contribute. The Lakers' 2016 free agency stands as a permanent reminder that cap space, by itself, means nothing. That spending money poorly is worse than not spending at all. That patience and discipline matter more than reacting to temporary circumstances.
In the years since, the Lakers have rebuilt their front office, won a championship, and moved past the mistakes of 2016. But the franchise paid $5 million annually to Luol Deng through 2022, long after he retired, a ghostly reminder appearing on salary cap sheets like an uninvited guest. Every payment to a player no longer in the league, every dollar sent to someone who could no longer help the team, whispered the same lesson. Sometimes the worst contracts are not the ones given to injured stars or underperforming players, but simply the ones that should never have existed at all. 4 contracts, 4 different stories of disappointment, from injuries to misjudgment, from poor timing to unfortunate circumstances. These deals remind us that even the most careful plans can quietly unravel. Money cannot guarantee health, performance, or happiness. Sometimes the brightest promises fade into expensive lessons. But in these failures, teams learned patience. They discovered humility. They found wisdom in what went wrong. As you drift toward sleep, remember, even our mistakes can teach us something. Rest now. Tomorrow brings new chances.